い上がれ重迫の雲を見下ろす遥かな空まで解き放って自由な魂風に乗って
Hey again, and welcome back to Subs Lie, Dubs Lie, a comprehensive anime podcast. It is your host, none other than I, Jay, aka Versace Vegeta, and I am with my dog, my brother. And man, D, how you doing, fam?
Yo, what's going on, Brother Jay? What's going on, people? It's your boy D. We back at it again. Regular programming. You know what the deal is.
That's right, man. How you doing? How you living, bro?
I'm living pretty damn good, man. I ain't gonna lie. Again, with the reoccurring theme of the months just flying by so crazy. Like, I guess it's a good thing for me because, you know what I'm saying? Although the months have been treating me good, it's like, again, I'm about ready for winter to be over. I ain't even gonna lie, man.
I feel that. Spring
Like,
just started, man, and it's like, okay, I need that warmth to kick in.
Yeah. And, you know, over here in New York, man, y'all know how it goes, man. Like, even when winter is officially over, it ain't really over. It still be cold as hell, so I can't do it. But I've been pretty good, man. I ain't even gonna lie, bro. How you been, dog?
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been a nice little week. I spent the week off away from work and away from home. Went down to Texas for a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Got to spend some time down there. It was really, I wouldn't say it was a lot more warm than it was here because it's pretty cold here when I got back. It was pretty chilly and rain, even rainy like on one day while I was up there. But got to enjoy some Texas living, man. That that barbecue, that Whataburger, the Buc-ee's,
man. See my boy Jay living.
Man, I'm telling you, y'all.
Meanwhile, I'm freezing,
bro. Oh, I'm so sorry, man. It was like 60 at best down there, but still compared to where it is around most of the country right now, pretty warm, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, really enjoyed my time out there. You know what I'm saying? Really got to just recharge my batteries.
Yes, sir.
Just enjoy time with, you know what I'm saying, the loved ones,
Yeah, man.
friends. Just such a good time, man. I can't even I can't even complain, bro. Like, really, honestly, got so much to the fact that when I came back to work today, bro, I woke up late. Man, I went to like a meeting. Like maybe I had woke up an hour before it and I was like, oh shit, like, hold up. Like, well, I'm supposed to already be started with my day. But man, I can't lie to you. Like, it just even now, like getting back into the swing of things, like it feels good to recharge my batteries and now be ready to just tackle everything here, man.
Oh yeah, it's needed, man. It's needed.
Bro, man, listen, I would say like it's so much to where like I did stuff I regularly don't do. Like, I don't ever play Mario Kart. I have Mario Kart 8. I never play it, bro. I played the fuck out of Mario Kart.
Hell yeah, man. Of course, like usually that's how that goes, bro. Like when you around with the peeps and everything, like you usually more prone to play some shit that you ain't even touch.
Man, not even. I even got to play the damn arcade version, man. I'm telling you, bro.
Yo, my man's really was living,
yo. Yeah, man. I got to go to a nice little bar arcade called Side Arcade, man, and like they have it to where you just pay to go. All the arcade machines are on free play.
Whew.
Bro, it was lit little time in there, man. They had like all different types of ciders and stuff. It's amazing. Really loved it. But man, aside from that, really just been digging deep into everything we've been doing in this season 2 of Subs Lie Dubs Lie, man, because us talking about these Saiyans it just keeps me grounded into something I know and love so much about, and that is everything there is about what makes a Saiyan, everything there is to know about their culture, their race, the the characters. Man, there's just so much that we've been able to discuss, and I really have loved digging deep into these subjects. But there's one thing about the Saiyans that we really haven't touched upon yet. And I feel like it's the most well-known part of
Yep.
the Saiyans, the most iconic part of anything a Saiyan possibly can become. And that is the form of the Super Saiyan itself, bro.
Yeah. For better or worse, it's probably the most important part of Dragon Ball now.
Yeah, yeah. For the very least, for the past 32 years,
Yep.
the form of the Super Saiyan has taken on a life of its own. Something that, with if you know about Dragon Ball, it's gonna be probably one of the most hype parts about being a fan. And definitely something that just excites people in seeing the transformations themselves, the action that goes down whenever a character transforms into a Super Saiyan, all the moments that go along with that, the powers that the characters showcase, all of that. So, because we know just how big of an impact that the Super Saiyan forms themselves have on Dragon Ball, this week, Dee and I, we're going to go into all of the different forms, grades, transformations, everything there is to know.
Every goddamn thing about this beautiful, stressful ass form.
And I mean, you. I know we joke, but it is something that does come with a lot of stress because over time, the Super Saiyan form has been equated to the fact that each one has a different level of power attached to it, and that means that there has to be a scale of power. And Dee and I, the one thing we're not a fan of when it comes to the Dragon Ball fandom is power scaling.
Oh my goodness, I cannot stand it. If you guys never ever got the impression that I didn't like Power Scaling,
Yeah.
you heard it here first, man. I despise it. Not just in Dragon Ball, but just in general and in form of anime. It's nasty works.
No, you're right, Doc. Because when it comes to just everything with anime in total, power scaling is a big part of just how people consume the medium, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And while we hear Subside Dubs Live, we always want to dispel any rumors or misconceptions and things like that. Power scaling, in terms of how it relates to Dragon Ball, is something that is pretty concrete. While there may be a lot of different takes on how it works, if you pay close enough attention to what the manga and the anime is telling you, you can pretty easily understand it. Again, this is a manga that's made for like 7-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. We're not reading goddamn rocket science over here, man. It's simple.
Exactly. So, with all that said, yeah, don't expect too much power scaling talk from us. Of course, we will be defining just how much stronger each form is based on what information is available through the manga or any data books like the Daizenshu's or anything like that. But we're going to talk less about this form is much stronger than those, and this is why it's better. But more of just explaining, like, hey, if you're new to Dragon Ball and you really just want to be able to dig into episodes like these and find out from an outside perspective what there is to know about why each character's hair gets spikier and longer or black or red or blue, then sit down and tune in with us this week because we will be diving into the legend of the Super Saiyan itself, from conception all the way to how it's known now, and everything you need to know, along with our own takes. So tune in, tap in with us as we dive into the legend of the Super Saiyan.
The last Super Saiyan supposedly
existed over 1,000 years ago. But that was nothing more than a legend. I never actually believed it to be true. Even so, there's no way a low class like Kakarot could achieve it. According to legend, the last Super Saiyan could only maintain his status in the transformed state. His power was extraordinary. He had no equal in the universe, but he was too primitive to control it. His rage burned so intensely that it eventually consumed him, and in the end, he was destroyed by his own power. But if there were a way to achieve such power, I should know it. I am the Prince of all Saiyans. If there is to be a new Super Saiyan, it should be me.
So, D, you know, one of the biggest things about anime is that there's always going to come to a point to where, especially within shonen battle manga, a character is going to achieve a new level of power.
Yep.
And that new level of power is usually visually interpreted as a transformation, like just really easy to explain those sorts of things. When it comes to like transformations, what do you expect out of how it's delivered with a character?
Usually I'm expecting not only usually I expect. Let me think long hard. That's a really good question. I'm expecting a very important scene. Like there's no well, not for Dragon Ball especially the later years, but I'm usually expecting something drastic in the story that required our character to have to reach this potential form or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, for the most part, you're just expecting an easy way to knock down the villain. Usually, how the series, especially for Dragon Ball and many other battle shonens, yeah, usually a new form is just it's about that time that villain about to get put away. So.
And that's a really easy expectation to have because in how we've been introduced to transformations just throughout all of shonen battle manga, and even outside of that now, there's always going to be a very cataclysmic event or possibly a life-changing moment that alters a character, that pushes them beyond the brink of where they've previously been at. And now we have a visual response that we can have to say, hey, this character is now broken that limit or has achieved a new level that's going to help them overcome their current obstacle and hopefully future other ones down the line. Our man Akira Toriyama, when he used to display changes of power with Goku, it was never with transformations early in Dragon Ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Closest thing we ever got to it being something like that was that he would transform into a giant ape under the full moon, but that was never for power.
Yeah, it wasn't. In many cases, it was just to display a threat.
Exactly. Even by the time that we're introduced to it with Vegeta transforming into a Uzaru in his battle against Goku, it still has the same basis of this is a giant uncontrollable monster. He just scientifically breaks down for us in that moment that this is a form that gives him 10 times the amount of strength that he had previously.
Yeah.
Outside of that, we're only given that because this is a shonen battle manga where with Dragon Ball Z early on, power levels, numbers being associated with them were plot points, right? We needed to have something that was associated with telling us how strong a character was. And thus, Akira Toriyama would have Goku get stronger by, a feat that he was able to achieve. Punched a hole through Piccolo's chest. He was able to defeat Piccolo's son at the 23rd World's Martial Arts Tournament. But at the time Dragon Ball Z rolls around, he does undergo a moment where he trains with the god Kaio, and he's able to learn the Kaioken. But that's not a transformation. That's a state that he's able to go into that visually shows that he's able to multiply his power. Is there a red aura that surrounds him? Yes. But again, it's to show that he's using the power that this god taught him in order to increase his strength. But as far as a transformation, there were no visual changes to Goku's physical form. We get to a point in Dragon Ball Z where we're hinted at the concept of what a Super Saiyan is when Nappa first mentions this, when he's just seeing Gohan's power for the first time. And he sort of surmises maybe because this kid's a hybrid Saiyan, he could be a Super Saiyan one day.
Yeah.
But it's just a throwaway line.
Yeah, it's not to the average viewer, it ain't nothing important.
That's exactly right. It's not meant to be anything that signifies a next level to be achieved. It's just a throwaway line. Not until the Namek saga, where when Goku arrives to face off against Raccoon, Vegeta, while he's watching along, he refers to the Super Saiyan for the first time himself, but this time as a legendary form that was achieved by a Saiyan eons ago. That, who knows, could this at this point just be an old tale, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just for all we know, it's a myth. So,
but with Goku's feats that we're able to see him achieve throughout the Namek saga, the training that Goku performed while in 100 times gravity on the way to planet Namek did allow him to achieve new heights in terms of his power. But what would push him to the brink is when he would witness his closest friend, Krillin, be killed by Frieza after he survived the spirit bomb. This pushed Goku in a way that he had never been before, as he had never immediately, directly with his own eyes, witnessed one of his closest friends just be murdered outright by someone who he thought he had bested.
yeah.
Because of that, that allows Goku's emotions to push beyond anything we've ever seen them do. And his hair stands up, turning golden, with his eyes changing to either a red color in the manga or a green color in the anime, which is the physical representation of him transforming into a Super Saiyan for the first time. Now, when we have this form in and of itself, right? Transforming into a Super Saiyan is something that grants a 50-fold increase in power to a user, according to Daizenshu 7, the guidebook that was released in Japan. That makes that character a lot stronger than before. And not only that, you see an increase in speed, an increase in durability, an increase in hell, even their confidence, because for a good amount of different Saiyan characters like Trunks, Gohan, Vegeta, when we see them transform into a Super Saiyan, it gives them a heightened sense of confidence beyond what they had before. I think it's really great that we have this visual identifier for what makes a Super Saiyan, because in Shonen, like we mentioned earlier, you're going to see a character achieve a new level of power. But now Akira Toriyama has basically said, hey, man, like, I'm going to have a shortcut because I'm tired of drawing black for these characters' hair.
Can you blame him, man?
Not at all. Not at all. You got to fill in those lines every week.
Exactly.
So
Pain
how
in the
about
ass.
yeah, it is a pain in the ass. So how about we make those characters have their hair be white in the panels, and that shows that they're stronger, right? I can't blame them for taking that shortcut. But it's such a thing to where we now see, even in current manga and in anime, characters take on a new, more powerful form that may be lighter colored, just because it's easier on the manga artists to be able to outline a character and have their power visually be shown by them taking on a brighter colored form, as opposed to them having to fill in all the dark parts of characters' art when it comes to that black and white manga medium. Now, Super Saiyan in and of itself is a form that we do see have multiple grades before the form itself is ascended higher. Just because someone has transformed into a Super Saiyan, whether it be through them being angry or emotional, or through having a high amount of S cells, as Akira Toriyama introduced to us just casually in a 2018 interview, a character is able to transform, and in that moment, their power just becomes that 50 times increase. That is just a standard state of becoming a Super Saiyan. From there, we also learned during the Cell Saga, after Vegeta and Trunks' training within the Room of Spirit and Time, there's a more powerful version known as the second grade of Super Saiyan that pushes them to limits that require just increased training, that increases their muscle mass and durability. While that level of muscle mass does slightly reduce their speed and agility, the Super Saiyan is able to become much stronger in that form, as we saw Vegeta was able to take on Cell in his second state when no one had been able to take on Cell in even his first state up till that point.
Pretty good feat. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, Super Vegeta was that guy whenever he first showcased that. We do see Cell become perfect due to Vegeta's increased ego after having taken on so much power as a Super Saiyan. And once Cell becomes perfect, he wipes the floor with Vegeta in Super Saiyan Grade 2. In Super Saiyan Grade 3, we see Trunks go to another level of power that's much more bulkier, much stronger as well. Just a huge increase in power, but the amount of mass that they take on makes them so slow and immobile that agile opponents like Perfect Cell, or basically anybody who would have been strong enough,
damn body, man.
they just can't keep up with. And it's just not a grade of Super Saiyan that is of any real use.
That shit gave us one of the funniest moments ever. And that man Cell went ahead and bulked up just like Trunks for a second. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that too.
He's like, yeah, I can do that. And meanwhile, Goku's in the Room of Spirit of Time showing Gohan like, yeah, man, that shit's cool, but what does it do for you in like a real fight?
That shit about useless as hell. Like, what is this, a bodybuilding contest? We ain't showing off muscles here.
Exactly. And with that, it's just useless in battle entirely. Now, Goku and Gohan do spend 10 days after leaving from the Room of Spirit and Time towards the end of the Cell Saga, mastering the ability to transform into a Super Saiyan that has been known as final grade Super Saiyan in different areas of the fandom. We just consider that to be the perfected version of Super Saiyan, not really any sort of visual differences other than the fact that it is a perfected version of that power where you're using the highest amount of strength in speed increases that you possibly can have in Super Saiyan while just sustaining the form. Not really much to say beyond that. But I do want to ask you a question, Dee. With Super Saiyan, and we're just talking about the first form of in and of itself, what's a moment that stands out to you that maybe defines that form for you, or one that when you think back on is like, yo, like that's the one that makes that form for me?
I would have to say Future Trunks debut in using the Super Saiyan form.
Yeah.
Because it was like, here we just had our first time seeing Super Saiyan. It took a huge dramatic moment to happen. That boy Trunks came in and just, with a blink of an eye, just went ahead and powered up, did the damn thing, and probably gave us one of the coolest scenes of DBZ history. So that's always going to stand out for me, man.
Wiping out Frieza's army is definitely an iconic scene. I can't wait to talk more about that next week.
Yeah.
But Yeah, man. Future Trunks transforming into a Super Saiyan. I mean, hell, it's the only theme. It's the only time where a character transformed into a Super Saiyan and got an insert theme. So definitely one of the most iconic ones. In the interest of not just saying the same one, because it definitely would be mine too. My 1B would be when Vegeta transforms to a Super Saiyan against Android 19. Just that first time he shows up, it's like, yo, listen, bro, somebody gotta take care of this because clearly that boy Kakarot too weak.
As a Goku stan, I did not like that. I am gonna lie, it made me mad salty. Salty then, salty now.
I
did
don't
not
blame
like
you,
that.
man. It's like it's just as Toriyama could have just as easily written Goku to have taken the medicine sometime during those 3 years, and everything would have been copacetic. But
Yeah, but it ain't Goku and Z unless he's been handicapped with some inconvenience.
that's very true, actually. But thankfully, with Goku having been inconvenienced that way, um, we're able to see Vegeta step in, and he transforms into Super Saiyan, fighting against Android 19, makes really quick work of him, introduces the Big Bang attack for the first time. I mean, just a clean win.
Yeah, that boy was styling on 19.
He made quick work of him.
Yeah.
And for that, that's definitely my favorite moment of the Super Saiyan form in and of itself. Beyond that, we came to have that as the standard where we know now these characters, these Saiyans, they can transform into Super Saiyans when the plot calls for it, right?
Yep.
For them to have this other form that they can take on. With Universe 6 Saiyans that we're introduced to in Dragon Ball Super, we even see, Kaba, he's pushed to it whenever Vegeta threatens him with destroying the planet during their battle in the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. But we come to find out that was just really Kaba tapping into a sense of justice and wanting to defend his planet so hard. Because with Universe 6 Saiyans, they had an entirely different evolutionary course in how they were able to transform, that they can just sort of tap into a chakra channel in the back, basically. Like, let's just call it what it is. And
tingly in the back.
once they get that tingly feeling in their back, they can just transform into a Super Saiyan. It's much easier for them than with Universe 7 Saiyans. But we can't even say that all Universe 7 Saiyans have to transform into Super Saiyans because of a need out of anger or frustration or anything like that, because we see that, much like what we discussed earlier, with enough S cells, both Goten and Trunks were able to transform into Super Saiyans. So it can just really call down to whenever the plot requires a Saiyan to be able to access the form, they will be able to do so.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I did like the whole subversion of the way how Goten and Trunks transform as opposed to everyone else. Because it's funny. For what it's worth, it served for good comedic relief. So I'm not too mad. I know a lot of people say that was the beginning of the end for the transformation, but
not at all.
Again, you know what I'm saying? It's just a fun way to break the mold. So,
and it's something where we don't need it to be this super secret, like only the first Saiyans we were ever introduced to should get form, right?
Yeah, should we be whack?
It absolutely would be. And I it would be way worse because we'd have to come up with original forms for everybody, as opposed to just like, hey, we know Saiyans can go Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
Now, beyond that initial form of Super Saiyan, we do have a second level of power known as Super Saiyan 2. This was introduced when Gohan was facing off against Cell, when Cell smashed Android 16's head after he basically told Gohan that he should feel fine and taking on his strength to protect others, Gohan snapped in a rage and transformed into the second form known as Super Saiyan 2. This is known to be twice as powerful as the original Super Saiyan form in Daizenshuu 7, which makes the Saiyan much stronger and faster. However, it comes with no drawbacks.
Yeah.
Like just none. We don't see any sort of like power drain or any sort of like bulkiness or any sort of like weakness to this form. It's just something that's twice as strong as Super Saiyan. And while there may not be very many visual differences between Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2, this is something where we see the Saiyan's hair stand up even more, a little bit spikier, and we see silver lightning bolts streaking across their body. Really impressive form, especially early on in Dragon Ball Z, whenever we're shown this with Gohan in both the Cell Saga and Movie 9, as well as whenever we're introduced to Goku and Vegeta having it in the Majin Buu Saga. It just meant that, hey, yo, shit is hitting the fan right now. Like,
Yeah.
Super Saiyan 2 is just such a higher level of power than the first one that back in the day when you saw that move busted out, you definitely knew it was going to be a scrap.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same question for all these forms. So let me know, man. When it comes to Super Saiyan 2, what's a moment that defines it for you? I know it might be easy to say Gohan, and if that is, that's fine. But what is a scene relative to this form that you're like, no, like that's, if folks were going to see what Super Saiyan 2 is all about, they need to watch that.
I would say for the folks that need to, if they want to have a lasting impression of the form, obviously we have Gohan transforming against Cell. But my personal favorite is the World Tournament arc when Gohan transforms Super Saiyan 2 to show Kibisho. I really like that, man. It's kind of underrated in a sense, but I like it. And I do like the, just with the back of in my head, like, hey, Vegeta's like, hey, even though we could transform into this form, like he's still weaker than he was when he was fighting Cell, which always blows my mind because to me it's like in a sense it shows you how that even with the transformation it really doesn't matter unless you manage to keep up that strength, keep up that training. So I really like that particular moment.
I agree with you, man. It's such a really impressive display. Gohan charging up his power, all those tiles just lifting off the ground, falling back into place right after he goes fully into Super Saiyan 2. Man, gosh, you called my moment, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's rad, bro. It's rad, man.
It really is. It really is. Gosh, in the interest of just having different ones here, I would say my 1B once again, Goku versus Majin Vegeta.
That's raw.
That first moment where they power up into Super Saiyan 2, Goku tells them like, yeah, I got stronger while I was over in Otherworld, and Vegeta's like, you thought you was the only one getting rough and tough out here? Just powers up. You see the lightning bolts streak across him. You see his muscles just sort of like enlarge right in that moment. Like, I know a lot of people sort of have always implied that Vegeta got stronger with Babidi's magic to be able to take on that form, which is just not the case. That's very
not
clear.
The case. That's a misconception that I really cannot stand.
Exactly. Vegeta
I'm not a fan of, like, I'm not really the biggest Vegeta fan, but I really don't like diminishing a character like that, because that would imply that Vegeta was just flat out just useless. and for somebody who's had potential since he was born, you know what I'm saying? No, I don't know. It's nasty.
Vegeta was definitely training during those 7 years. There's no way he wasn't. And it's very easy to believe that during that period of time, he did access Super Saiyan 2. As a matter of fact, not even is it easy to believe, that's what happened.
Yeah, bro, 7 years and you can't believe that he of all people wouldn't transform to Super Saiyan 2. 7 years, dog. Like, bro, that's really a slap in the face to Vegeta for you to believe, like, yeah, man, it really took this evil wizard to just potentially just control him. Like, no, that's just no, absolutely not.
It's something where, like I said, the visual differences between Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 may not be the biggest. And it may not be something where it's like so obvious to say, like, okay, like, no, like I can look at him and tell, unless you're Dragon Ball and you're paying
Yeah,
attention to the silver lightning bolts. But outside of that, while it may not be the biggest visual difference, it is a form that has always sort of showed that we have this different level of power that a Super Saiyan can reach. And when they show it, it's go time.
yeah,
Now, as we move along in the genealogy of the Super Saiyan forms, there is a third and more powerful form than the previous two that requires an extreme amount of energy to be sustained, and that is Super Saiyan 3. This is a form that is 4 times as powerful as Super Saiyan 2. So you go 50 times stronger in Super Saiyan 1, 2 times stronger than that in Super Saiyan 2, and then 4 times stronger than that in Super Saiyan 3. Just extremely powerful. It's visualized with a Super Saiyan's hair going much longer than it ever had been before, growing down past their waist, becoming even more spiky, and the visual representation is shown even further with their eyebrows becoming just ridges on their foreheads, and there being no hair represented where their eyebrows once were. It's meant to sort of take on that like ape-like form of a Saiyan, which is something that we see happen with another Super Saiyan form that we're going to discuss down the line. But before we get to that, Super Saiyan 3 is just so much stronger that it can drain the amount of time that you're left on Earth if you're brought back to life by fortune teller Baba. It can drain the amount of time that you're in a fusion, like with Goten and Trunks when they transformed into Gotenks. Just a huge drain on the body. One could say maybe the one Super Saiyan form with the biggest drawback, but there's no clear way to say it other than this. The amount of power that a Super Saiyan gains when they have gone into 3 is immense.
yes,
Crazy high. To a point to where they are engaging in feats that are just gonna blow away anything they've done before. We saw this with Goku facing off against Majin Buu for the first time when he transformed into that form. We saw this with Gotenks versus Majin Buu as well, and in various other entries where Goku faced off against enemies like Janemba, Hirudegarn, and others. While there isn't too much else to say about Super Saiyan 3, it is a form that has a lot of great moments. And I want to run this back to you, Dee. What was the moment that stands out the most for you when you think about Super Saiyan 3?
I know a lot of people always fall back to Super Saiyan 3 the first time it's debuted, but for me, I loved when Goku went ahead and used that transformation against Kid Buu.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that was pretty damn good. No drawback. Well, obviously there was a drawback, but there was no, oh, well, my time is running out on Earth, blah, blah, blah. It was none of that. It's none of that. Oh, well, I'm not going to fight you or beat you because it's not my place to beat you.
Yeah.
And like, no, it's just straight hands. You get to see what the forms, what it's truly about. And I really did love that display, although it had a major drawback, which caused my opinion of the form to change, which is insane. Because at first I really loved that form when it was first.
Really awesome form.
But then when that was showcased in around the Kid Buu fight, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, just analyzing for what it's worth, form's pretty useless. unless you dead, like unless you flat out dead with no repercussions of having to go back to another world, like it's pretty much useless. Ain't even gonna lie.
Yeah, Goku's power was completely drained after he fought Majin Buu for a while, to the point where he just de-transformed into his base form and had power reserve issues for the rest of the fight. Super Saiyan 3 for me is something that I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw it scared me. It's really weird. You know, D and I, you know, we're a bit older than a lot of Dragon Ball fans.
Old farts out here, man.
Yeah. So we were around during the GeoCities era in the late 90s, man. You remember how there used to be like just different websites that would host like different information about Dragon Ball, or like maybe if you're lucky, you might find like some short little like 10-second clips or whatever.
Yes, sir.
So growing up in the 90s, my dad had something that was called Web TV. And
Web TV, man.
Basically, you hooked up to this box to your TV and your phone line, and it would let you use a web browser on your television. It had a little keyboard thing that you would just type in, go to whatever websites. And I used to spend a lot of time on Dragon Ball Z websites, just looking for anything there was to find out about Dragon Ball Z when I was 10. Like, this is 1998. And I went to a website that had just mentions of these other Super Saiyan forms, and I was just like, "What? What are they talking about?" Like, mind you, I only was kind of slightly privy to what a Super Saiyan was because of the opening of Rock the Dragon, where Goku transforms at the end, and even then, I just was like, "I know what that looks like, but I don't know what that means."
Yeah, it's foreign language.
Yeah. So it had this clip of Goku transforming as a Super Saiyan 3 during Dragon Ball Z movie 12. Where during Dragon Ball Z movie 12 Fusion Reborn, Goku is facing off against Janemba. And the clip I saw, mind you, this is 1998, so it's very compressed, like maybe 320 kilobytes per second, like type clip.
some quality, some ass juice, man.
And it's on a full like 20 something inch TV screen of like no context. Janemba's like screaming, and you see him like on the screen, and like sort of pans out, and then Goku's face with like, you know how it's changing colors on the screen, and like they have this like sort of guttural like voice modifier filter on Masako Nozawa's voice. It's just her yelling and Goku's hair getting longer and longer, and it's playing the little doo 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 doo. I'll never forget. It scared the fuck out of me because Goku's sitting there and he's transforming, his hair getting longer, and I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what is going on. And then you just hear this, like, you just hear the voice of like Goku just saying like, yeah, this is Super Saiyan 3 in Japanese. But mind you, I didn't, by that point in my life, I had not really been introduced to like Dragon Ball Z content in Japanese. So I felt like I had stumbled across something I wasn't supposed to see. Like, it looked like pixelated, like Channel 99 in 1998. If you know, you know, right? Like, yeah. it looked like, it just looked like wrong. Like, I was just like, what is going on? I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't know why I'm seeing this. It creeps me out. It's freaky. But whenever I think about Super Saiyan 3, I think about the first time I ever saw it. And that was the first time I ever saw Super Saiyan 3, was seeing that, what I would then, a couple of years later, find out to be was a scene from the Dragon Ball Z movie 12.
What a
movie.
What a movie, and what a way to be introduced to that form, man. I ain't gonna lie, I'd probably be shook too if I saw it the way how you saw it.
Bro, and it's like, I don't even see him, the fight afterwards. It's just literally like Goku saying like, I transformed into a Super Saiyan, or whatever he says in Japanese right after that, and then the clip ends, and it just replayed. And I was just like, I remember sitting in front of the TV for like 5 minutes watching that clip. I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? I think this is Dragon Ball Z, but I don't. Huh? It was wild. It was wild. But whenever I think about Super Saiyan 3, like I said, that's what comes to my mind. It's an amazing form. I really love even for all the moments that we do have, because there's not that many, but
exactly.
Very impressive form in the Dragon Ball franchise. As we do move on, there's a few left here. a couple of years later, after Dragon Ball Z had finished, there was a form that was introduced to us in Dragon Ball Z's follow-up, Dragon Ball GT, where Goku had been turned into a child, but the amount of power that he was able to access, even as a Super Saiyan 3, just wasn't enough for him to be able to take on the villain Baby during that series. So eventually it comes to a point where Goku winds up transformed into a great ape, but this time golden, and he's just lost control of his body and mind completely. It's not until his granddaughter Pan is able to get him to calm down and get back to normal that once he looks at the Earth as they're on this new planet Tuffle, he's able to transform into a form only known as Super Saiyan form. Instead of it being something that has to deal with a Saiyan's emotions or training or anything like that, they just have to be a super powerful Saiyan that can go Super Saiyan and be a Super Saiyan Great Ape. And once they've calmed down for being that, they transform into a form that's humanoid with red fur, a tail, and a really rockin' fucking mullet.
Yeah.
Only known as Super Saiyan 4. It's way stronger than all previous 3 forms. We've never really been given like a direct calculation of how much stronger this form is. But we do see the fact that a Saiyan gets much stronger, much quicker, a lot more durable. They're able to fire energy attacks with ease, with seemingly no sort of limit to their power, only to when Goku gets pushed to have to use the original take of the Super Saiyan God ritual, where he takes on the power of other Saiyans and becomes a full power Super Saiyan 4. But even that is just him using the fullest amount of power of that form. It's not a different version of it. While in our official medium, we've only been able to see Goku and Vegeta, as well as their fusion Gogeta, take on this form. We have been introduced to Dragon Ball content that shows us Super Saiyan 4 for decades at this point through Dragon Ball Heroes, with us having characters like Gohan, Bardock, Broly, Vegito, and others all transform into Super Saiyan 4. And it's because it is such a cool form that it does seem to have a repeat of prevalence in Dragon Ball's history and lexicon. Because while Dragon Ball GT may be a blemish on the franchise for those of us who are old enough to have lived with it, there is no argument that Japan sees this as a great marketing tool and one that they will keep introducing to more and more fans as Dragon Ball continues to exist. I mean, I've got all of the Super Saiyan 4 cards in Dokkan. I've got all the Super Saiyan 4 cards in Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission on the Switch. So even for someone like me who lived through Dragon Ball GT and knows that, you know, maybe it wasn't the greatest iteration of Dragon Ball, it did bring us one of the coolest looking fucking forms in all of Dragon Ball ever made, man.
One of the coolest, without a doubt. Anybody, like, I'm sorry for all the people that, well, GT is a big catastrophe. It's the biggest sin in the world. Gave us the coolest form ever.
Ever, dude. Like, come on, man. Like some metalhead monkey dudes that are fighting, that now like their transformation is given like one of them leather pants. Like, bro, come on. Like, you have to remember it was the mid-90s, okay? If you were not there, Super Saiyan 4 makes no sense to you.
Yeah, you looking at it like, huh? But it's raw.
It's the rawest shit ever, okay? Okay? Uzaru man form?
Yeah, exactly.
Sign me the fuck up, bro.
That's honestly, that's what I thought Super Saiyan 3 would have been, with the way, you know, like how they introduced in the anime, like how he like does the ape and then he does the little baby shit. Like, that's what I honestly, if you really want to be like looking back at hindsight, like I thought this would be something close to like. I thought that would be Super Saiyan 3. Like
The way they introduced Super Saiyan 3 is so much like what the concept for Super Saiyan 4 is that it almost seems like it's, the natural evolution of it in terms of what the animators were thinking of next. But if they had skipped that step and just went straight to that for 3, I wouldn't have been mad.
I wouldn't have been mad. I ain't even gonna lie.
Personally, Super Saiyan 4 is a form that, I'm really glad that they do keep introducing new generations of Dragon Ball fans to, because it encapsulates just what makes Super Saiyan something different from everything else in Dragon Ball. And for them to come to what at that point would be the end point of what a Super Saiyan is, it only makes sense that they would have more of a bestial form in that ultimate transformation.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you again, man, and I want to take it even, if you got something that's beyond the official content. What's a Super Saiyan 4 moment, scene, anything like that stood out to you? That's like, yo, no, like that's Super Saiyan 4 right there, doc.
It would have to be, and people, it's funny, but Vegeta turned into Super Saiyan 4, the way how that to me, I don't like something about just using like the wave generator.
Yes.
It was raw as hell to me, man. It was for obvious reasons. It was very innovative, and he ain't have no tail, so shit. You gotta use desperate measures, and this is like, hey, I'm watching Goku have it to struggle and whatnot. And here, Vegeta, for the first time, like, he looks like he did something with ease. Like, yeah, it took him a machine to use it, but for the most part, it wasn't that much of a struggle. When he turned ape, he didn't lose control of himself. Like, it was really just him just trying to fool Omega Shenron. So it's really, to me, it stands out the most.
My man caught up. He skipped Super Saiyan 3. He said, look, I don't even need to go the same route as Kakarot. I'm just going to go straight to this power. Fuck with you, boy. I'm going to fight right alongside you because clearly you can't get this done on your own.
Exactly. What was he going to do? Like, what was he going to do if Vegeta ain't get that machine? Like, what was... Shit, GT would have been different.
It would have been a wash.
Yeah, because it was mincemeat. I ain't gonna lie. It was looking really slow for the Earth.
My favorite moment of Super Saiyan 4 has to be Goku and Vegeta teamed up as they are about to face off against Omega Shenron. That first time where they're just powered up right next to each other and they're just like, like yelling, and like the screen sort of reverberates and it sort of like shakes and it shows like the echoes of their power out. And they sort of like team up against Omega Shenron for that first time. That to me is like, that is what makes it such a definitively powerful form. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was really, really powerful too. And I thought that, outside of him just playing around, it was really, really cool to see him in that sort of form take on Omega Shenron. But the one moment for me that stands out the most is without a doubt Vegeta and Goku powering up right next to each other, about to take on Omega Shenron.
That shit is raw as hell, man.
Super Saiyan 3 would be the last Super Saiyan form that we'd be introduced to in Dragon Ball Z up until about 17 years later, where we would be shown a new story, a new film with Goku and his friends' adventures called Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. This would feature a god of destruction by the name of Beerus that was looking for what was known as the Super Saiyan God, a form that was introduced to him in a vision from the Oracle Fish. Now, he goes to our heroes asking them, do y'all know what the Super Saiyan God is? Because I was told that's going to be my greatest rival. And they have no fucking clue.
Just looking at him like, is this guy on drugs?
Yeah. If it wasn't for the fact that Vegeta already knew who Beerus was, they would have been like left in the cold, the planet would have gotten destroyed because he would have gotten pissed off because they don't know about it, and he just would have destroyed the planet after he just wiped out all the Saiyans real quick in a show of strength. But thankfully, my man Vegeta knew who Beerus was and was like, yo, we got to kind of take this guy serious. If he needs to know what a Super Saiyan God is, we need to come up with the definition and fast.
Yeah.
It does get to a point to where Goku and his friends make a wish to Shinron, and they discover that with the power of 6 powerful Saiyans, they can compound their power into one Saiyan of pure heart and turn him into a Super Saiyan God, which they do with Goku as he faces off against Beerus at the end and climax of Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods.
Yes.
As far as what Super Saiyan God is, this is a form that's much more powerful than any previous form that we've ever been introduced to in the Dragon Ball manga or anime. It allows them to tap into a godly level of power that makes them way more powerful, faster, durable, all of that than they ever had been before. Super Saiyan God is something that gives the user a red tint of hair, but it doesn't change the appearance of their hair. So like with Goku, his hair stays in the regular sort of flipped version that it stays on his head at all times. It just changes it to a red color. However, their muscular mass does become slightly decreased. It sort of slims the fighter out to be much faster, and it gives them just such a huge increase of power that Goku himself was able to go toe-to-toe with the god of destruction, Beerus. We see Goku and Vegeta both use this form throughout Dragon Ball Super. We've also been introduced to characters like Future Trunks being able to access it in Super Dragon Ball Heroes. And you can even take on Super Saiyan God yourself if you create a character within Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. One of the coolest looking forms in all of New Dragon Ball, and one that honestly, at first glance, a lot of people were like, yo, what's the difference between that and just Kaioken? But when you see the feats that characters have been able to take on, such as, Goku teaming up with Hit in the Tournament of Power to face off against Dispo and eventually also Jiren, as well as Goku and Vegeta taking these form on to face off against Broly in Dragon Ball Super Broly, we've been shown that this form does have a place of its own, that isn't just something that makes it like some basic little power up and that's it. That all said, man, in the past 10 years now that we've had Super Saiyan God, it's crazy to think about when you say it like that. What's been a moment that stood out the most to you?
I really like, for the most part, the Goku and Hit scene. I really enjoyed. I ain't even gonna lie, man. It's just a measure of just trying to gauge Jiren's strength, and like the teamwork is like, for the most part, raw as hell.
Yeah.
So, that does it for me, man.
Same here. I love the distinction that scene made of the fact that, like if you're trying to rely on speed, you should use Super Saiyan God because it's just going to give you that much more of a power up in that area. There's no sort of stamina, durability issues, nothing like that. Really, really impressive form in how they used it there. I love the way that Goku's been able to use it in the manga as well, and how he sort of like switches between the forms and whatnot, because we're just given more detail on how that form can be utilized. But for me, the one form that stands out the most is Vegeta versus Broly.
Yeah, that scene is raw, man. I ain't gonna lie, that scene is really raw.
Broly arrives to Earth with his father Paragus, as well as Frieza's forces, and they challenge Vegeta and Goku. Vegeta is able to take on Broly first. He goes into Super Saiyan. Broly's able to keep up with him in just his own base level of power. But in order to turn up the battle a notch, Vegeta does wind up going into Super Saiyan God and just outclasses Broly in every single way in the very early parts of it. It's also the first time you ever see my man Vegeta get a very decisive dub in a movie. So yes, Vegeta, Super Saiyan God versus Broly, my favorite Super Saiyan God moment of all time. Lastly, when it comes to the forms of Super Saiyan that we can showcase here, we do also have Super Saiyan Blue, also known as Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. This form is a combination between Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan God, which obviously is much more powerful than Super Saiyan God alone. But basically, imagine if someone was a Super Saiyan God and they decided what would happen if I went Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan Blue is what you would get. It's first achieved whenever Goku and Vegeta are training with Whis back on Beerus's planet. We never get to see exactly at what point that they achieve these forms, because by the time we first see them use them, they're facing off against Frieza during Resurrection F. But the forms have been greatly utilized. As Super Saiyan Blue is not something that just by itself you can say like, okay, you've got Super Saiyan Blue and that's all there is to it. There's various iterations of the form. We're introduced to a version of Goku that was taken over by a god of destruction by the name of Zamasu in Dragon Ball Super, who uses Super Saiyan Rose, an iteration where basically a deity who is taking the form of a Saiyan transforms into Super Saiyan Blue, and their power is just visualized with a different color. We also see Vegeta master the form within the manga, where he's able to use a version called Perfected Super Saiyan Blue, where basically their ki isn't overflowing. Because when we're first introduced to Super Saiyan Blue, we're shown that it does have a huge taxation on the user's body in the amount of ki that it uses and the fact that they can't just keep it fully seeped in and controlled. We also see it utilized in a way where Goku uses Kaioken on top of Super Saiyan Blue during Dragon Ball Super. He first uses it up to 10 times against Hit, and later up to 20 times during his battle with Jiren during the Tournament of Power. So Super Saiyan Blue is something where we've just seen utilized in a whole lot of different ways. Vegeta even gets his own version of Super Saiyan Blue called Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Evolved, where fans may remember this in Dragon Ball Super, where he turned sparkly blue instead of just regular blue and got the Super Vegeta muscly armed sort of buff. But with all of that in mind, with all the different ways that Super Saiyan Blue has been used, it has been shown as the most powerful version of Super Saiyan to date thus far. Goku and Vegeta have done really amazing feats with this form, just in transforming into Vegito when they fuse to face off against Merge Zamasu, as well as the feats that they had in the Tournament of Power. What are some of the coolest moments that you got to see just to end this up, D, with Super Saiyan Blue? And we can even count, again, outside content such as Dragon Ball Xenoverse, Dragon Ball Heroes, stuff like that. When you think about Super Saiyan Blue, what's like, yo, this was the one that I really thought showed that this is that much more powerful of a form than Super Saiyan God, and one that should stand alone on its own.
It definitely has to be when Goku used the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken for the first time. That shit was so raw to me. I ain't gonna lie. It just everything was just perfect. I just loved everything. I loved Vegeta's little comments about like just being like, oh well, yeah, I'm familiar with that form. I'm familiar with that state. Like for the most part, it just really stands out to me.
Yeah. Whenever Goku used Super Saiyan Blue that first time, I was like, wow, like this is a huge increase of power. But then I never would have believed that he'd be able to use something like Kaioken on top of it, right? Because holy fuck, like we hadn't seen Goku use Kaioken since Namek.
That was like legitimately it put a smile on my face with a tear of joy in my eye, because I'm like, yo, we really getting back to the old roots. Like we have not seen that form in a long ass time. So for the most part, like, yeah, we here. That was a big moment for me. Big moment.
it was really cool seeing Goku be able to use something that he just hadn't relied on in so long to give him that power boost. And it was like, once he used it, it made perfect sense. It's like, oh, okay, all right, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that. I get that. Yeah, okay. That's believable for me. For me, the coolest moment of Super Saiyan Blue is a moment that hasn't been animated yet.
Mhm.
And it's when Vegeta uses Super Saiyan Blue to face off against Moro. Now, while he does use it with his Force Spirit Fission technique that he learned on Yardrat, Vegeta was able to just show up in a moment that Goku, basically had not been able to best Moro in Ultra Instinct, a form that is a completely different technique outside of Super Saiyan forms that just has a crazy amount of power. And Vegeta just shows up in this form, goes even to that evolved state, and just starts putting the works on Moro, taking all the power out of him that he'd stolen from the planet, and even the other fighters. Seeing that, when it finally does become animated, Toei, please, I hope y'all are working on this right now because we need that.
We need it. We really
It was
do
such a really dope showcase of the fact that, Vegeta, while he hadn't reached his own equivalent of Ultra Instinct like he would later use with Ultra Ego during the Granola arc, he was like, nah, man, like this level that I have, this ain't something that's just like a lesser level of power just because Kakarot has his Ultra Instinct now. Let me show you what all you can do with this if you know the right ways to use your power. And was just, like I said, putting the works tomorrow for a little bit. Of course, Vegeta wouldn't wind up being the one to get the dub in that arc, but it stands out to me as really the coolest moment. If you do have access to be able to read the Dragon Ball Super manga through Shonen Jump or Viz, definitely take a look into those chapters during the Moro arc, because my man Vegeta shows up and shows out in Super Saiyan Blue, without a doubt. Those are all of the Super Saiyan forms. I have one last question for you before we wrap everything up in going over this great legend. If you had to choose one Super Saiyan form, you can't go all of them. You can only just transform into one. Which one's the one you're going to use?
I'm most definitely picking the full power Super Saiyan, the perfected Super Saiyan, very first Super Saiyan. I don't know,
Okay.
man. It's just something stands out to me, man. It's nostalgic as hell for the most part, and it's given us some of the best moments, especially in the Cell Saga. So, for the most part, I really that's my go-to form.
And it's really cool because, as we saw with Goku and Gohan, they were able to just remain in that form in just their regular everyday life. They did have to get used to the power, but the fact that it had no drain on them and really just only gave them benefits from being able to tap into it at a moment's notice really, really is dope. I can't hold you on that one. It's really cool. Me personally, Super Saiyan God. I want to be able to zip around niggas and just hit them with the me.
Yeah, I get it, and for the most part, I really love that the appearance of the Super Saiyan God, like the slim, sleek one. Because at first, like you're expecting, you really expecting some big buff. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a Super Saiyan God. I'm
Exactly.
Thinking, so way to go and subvert our expectations with that one. Because I know a lot of people were like, why does this dude look like he ain't have a meal in ages?
That's what I'm saying, because all of the Super Saiyan forms we've seen, like either there was some sort of great significant power boost that we could visually see, or maybe they got a little bit bigger, maybe they looked stronger. Super Saiyan God, my man Goku looks like, bro, when's the last time you ate? I know eating's a big thing for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And meanwhile, he's out there just battling. So yeah, man. No, Super Saiyan God, probably my favorite form, the one that if I had to use it, it would be mine. Yeah.
I got you.
So it's been really great going into just a breakdown of all of the forms that Dragon Ball showcases for all of the Super Saiyan forms. Of course, if you're listening to this in early 2023, that is the current list of forms. However, if you're listening to this in the future and there are other forms, I would not be surprised. We've seen in the manga that Goku can even use Ultra Instinct as a Super Saiyan. So there's no telling what they'll have out for us within the next few years' time.
I would not be surprised if this list of forms changes in with at least 5-6 months.
Yeah. Well, actually, before the end of this year would not surprise me at all. But for all the ones that we've been really glad to be able to break these down for us. As a matter of fact, now that you've listened in, for those of us who were able to stick around, be sure to reach out to us on Twitter at D We Trust and at Versace Vegeta _ and let us know what your favorite Super Saiyan forms are as well. What your favorite moments of those forms are, all those things like that. Because, like we said, it's the most iconic transformation in all of Shonen Battle manga, likely top 3 transformation in all of manga and anime in general.
Yep.
And we know that it's something that resonates with a lot of people. So we want to know what y'all's thoughts are too. But until then, be sure to tune in next week as we will be joined with none other than our great founder here at the Lookout, coming right off the 5th year anniversary of the Lookout Anime Network's entire existence. Our dog Meals will be joining us next week as we discuss Future Trunks.
Hey, boy.
All of his histories, because y'all know there's more than one. And if y'all didn't know, you will next week.
For sure.
But we will be covering the histories of Future Trunks with our dog Meals. Be sure to listen to The Lookout as well. It drops every Tuesday, the day before ours. So if you're tapped in with Subsly, Dubsly, you're already tapped in with the Lookout Network as it is. So be sure to give the Lookout a listen as well, as they're currently in their spring season.
Yes.
But until next time, Subsly, Dubsly, your boys D and J, we don't.
We never did, man.
And we never will. We out here. Peace.
I like your boys.